Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another DC Worlds Collide video. I'm glad you're joining me today. Before we get started, if you could take a chance, hop on that Space Hog, drive over that like and subscribe button, and help out the channel. Any support is greatly appreciated, and it doesn't go unnoticed, I promise you that. Lobo's finally in the game. I'm not gonna lie, I don't understand this. Other games release kits days in advance. It gives your content creators time to get these characters hyped, get people hyped for the characters, and this game has a couple good content creators out there, Mr. Squirrel, Superhero Gamer, that have audiences that they could have been out there hyping this guy and his kit. And why we wait till the last minute to release it, I don't understand, but it's where we're at. So let's hop into Zod, or not Zod, I seen Zod sitting there. Let's hop into Lobo. Alright guys, here he is. Here is Lobo, a mighty DPS. We knew that from the email. Super villain and anti-hero. So there's his tags. Let's hop right into it and let's go into the ultimate hog hijack. Lobo hops on a space hog, rams into the target and takes them for a joyride. The target takes 20% of their max HP as damage and is removed from the battlefield until the start of the next round. That seems like it could be a big deal, taking someone off the battlefield. Of course, all these reviews are done in light of Firestorm, and will this work against Firestorm? That's kind of the way these have been going the last few times. Every review is always, can this control Firestorm? Can this control Firestorm? Well, if you take him off the battlefield, you're doing pretty good, and taking 20% of his max HP is not bad either. So, yeah, it sounds like it could be pretty good. Hog Hijack counts as a controlled debuff. If Lobo dies during the effect is canceled and the target is stunned instead. So I'm going to assume if he takes someone off the battlefield and then gets killed, that person comes back, but they come back stunned. And then against bosses, Hog Hijack skips their turn. So a boss mechanic as well, so something that we can mess around with. Level 2, the enemy target gains 1 stack of exhaustion and 1 stack of shatter. Now, I have not been able to find out what shatter means. I don't know if they've updated in the Discord, but you can't click on it here. I guess you're just going to have to wait till unlock them when they give you the thing. I haven't been able to find anything yet that lets me know what shatter does. And if the target is his contract, the attack deals 30% of their max HP instead of 20. We'll get into their contract here in a minute. And then once you get level 10, if the target is his contract, Lobo will perform his advanced without affecting its cooldown on them when he returns to the battlefield. And when the target returns, they're affected by stun for a turn. So you take them off for a round and then you stun them for their first turn coming back. Literally takes a piece off the field. And, if you take Firestorm off the field, that's one way to try to control him. Now, whether, it sounds good on paper, how it actually works, we'll have to wait and see. Let's go to his basic. It's kill, rend, destroy. Hit an enemy 2 times, each hit dealing 100% of his attack is physical damage. So he's a physical damage guy, which is no surprise. After his contract turn is finished, Lobo uses his basic attack against them. So the minute he puts that contract, every time they take a turn, he's punching them. So, and then this attack knocks back the enemy action bar for 5%. So every time to turn, you're not only hitting him, you're knocking his action bar back. So not bad. That's not bad. I'd like to see that 100% a little bit higher, but caught your scent. Hook to an enemy and pull himself into a devastating uppercut, dealing 250% of attack as physical damage. All right, that's a little bit better number. Now this is the thing that's going to pop off here when the target comes back from his ultimate. And if the target is his contract, reduce their attack by 15% for the rest of the combat. That's nice. Again, everything's in the vein of Firestorm. If you're reducing Firestorm's damage, even reducing Firestorm's damage by 15% means he's still doing a lot of damage, but it's something. And this is nice too. The attack knocks the enemy back 30% on the action bar and applies 1 stack of shatter for 2 turns. Still can't figure out what shatter is. Action bar knockback. Black Adam. Now he's not putting out any kind of shock or anything, so he's not helping Black Adam that way. But we're talking action bar. Someone's got enough shock on him, you knock back their action bar, they take damage. So might be some synergy here with Black Adam, anti-heroes and stuff like that. It's something you can play with. So very interesting here. Let's go to One Tough Bastich, I guess. At the end, now this is the one that's going to be kind of like, are we going to make it? So at the end of round 2, Lobo takes a contract on the enemy who has dealt the most damage so far, except another Lobo. Now that's good because usually by the end of 2 rounds, Firestorm's gone off, and of course he's doing the most damage. The problem is, there's a lot of fights with Firestorm only last 2 rounds. So can he survive long enough to get the contract out is going to be the question, and we're going to have to see it play out. I don't think you can read this and say yes, he's going to survive. Um, but that's going to be the issue. If he can't survive those 2 rounds against Firestorm or against anybody, the contract's worthless. So hopefully he'll have some good HP, and might have to figure out a way to, maybe you got to mod him with some extra HP just to make sure he survives those 2 rounds so he can get that contract on that damage dealer. And then Lobo and his contract will only target each other until one of them is defeated, which is interesting too. I know if you look back here, with the hook, if the target is his contract, reduce their attack by 15% for the rest of the battle if you hook them. But man, if Firestorm's only looking at him, that could be a problem too. So, and the contract end is one of them is defeated. Then when you level up, Lobo takes 50% reduced damage from any target that isn't his contract while the contract is still active. So no one else can get in there and get him out of the way for the person who's under contract. I think I'd like to see some damage reduction from the person under contract as well. I know you get a little bit here with if you do the caught your scent, but I think I'd like to see something in here that gives him an advantage over the person he's got a contract with as far as how much damage he's taking too. Because again, if it's him in one-on-one at Firestorm, does he survive? That's a tough one. And then Lobo has 25% damage application against his contract, which is nice. Now, if he's hijacked him and he's gone for a thing and he's stunned and stuff like that, maybe you don't have to worry about how much damage is incoming and Lobo's just out there doing his thing. But, I really want to see this in action and see how this works, and if he can survive a one-on-one battle with a Firestorm or not. So, very interesting. Very excited to see how this works and to see how this actually looks in game. And then his last passive is Get Fragged. When Lobo's contract is defeated, Lobo gains 20% attack, defense, and max health until the end of the combat. So if he can get out his thing, he gets way stronger. So we don't have anything else. We can't see any of his basic stats or anything like that yet. Like I said, there's nothing that tells us what Shatter is. I didn't see anything in here that lets us know what Shatter is. I even tried going in here in the tags, hoping maybe something would pop off. They have a little thingy, but it doesn't say what Shatter is. I don't know if Shatter is going to be some kind of anti-shield thing, which again would be Firestorm, because Firestorm does mess around with a shield. I guess this could be an arrow going through a shield, maybe. I don't know. Hard to tell, but I guess we'll find out as soon as some people unlock them tonight. But it would have been nice if we could have seen what that is. Not much on his badge. I think they might have talked a little bit about his badge in the email. His badge, the main Manther, enhances his role as an unstoppable hunter by keeping him sustained, aggressive, and constantly focused on his next target. The sustain is going to be the big one. Does reach 2 stacks of recuperate is going to be nice too, especially, like I said, everything's in the vein of Firestorm, so anything that can keep him alive. And it's faster too, so that's nice too. And if Lobo doesn't have, he will take a new contract at the start of his turn. Okay, so that's interesting too. So once he defeats a contract, he takes on another contract. I was wondering about that, and right there it is. Yep. So he's going to just cycle through the whole team with contracts. So I wonder if you're in round 4 or 5, are you taking another piece off the board then for another round and stunning them? I mean, I really want to see this in action because it sounds pretty good. It's just a matter if he can survive those 2 rounds to get that first contract out, I think is what it comes down to. And if he's got the survivability, fine. All this is while he's active contract, so by then we've gone the 2 rounds. So we'll have to see his base numbers and see what his health looks like and his survivability. If he can survive the 2 rounds, he's golden as far as getting that contract out. But we'll have to see. Like I said, a lot of Firestorm battles don't last much longer past 2 rounds, so we'll have to see how it goes. I don't think there's anything else in here that would work And control the pace of battle. As this contract begins, Lobo becomes much harder for the rest of the enemy team to deal with. We've seen that. His chosen target, we've seen that. And reduce ultimate threat through shatter. It says, and reduce ultimate threat through shatter. But it doesn't really tell you what shatter does. But it reduces the ultimate threat, which again, sounds good. Getting to his contract doesn't sound bad. It'll just be a matter, his contract doesn't sound bad. It'll just be a matter if he can get to that contract, if he can survive those 2 rounds. You know, this should be fun. It should be interesting. I can't wait to see if it plays out, how it plays out in action as opposed to words. So, but it sounds pretty interesting. The only other thing too is there is no synergy. Not that we're expecting one with Lobo, but you know, you do your due diligence and you check, and no synergy for Lobo. So there we have it. Taking out contract, going after that damage dealer. There was one thing in here, Space Hog. If you use it before he has a contract, it doesn't say who he's going to attack. It rams into a target and takes them for a joyride. The target takes 20% of their mana and is removed from the battlefield until the start of the next round. So if you use it before contract, I guess it's just random. It doesn't say who he'll attack, so I don't know if it's... I guess you just sit on it till the contract comes up, unless you think you can cycle through it a second time. Because as soon as that contract's up, man, you want to hit this and get that damage dealer out off the field as quickly as possible. So you might have to sit on this one until your contract goes through. So you might have to wait a couple rounds before you can use it. But again, we'll see. We'll get a better idea of that once we get it on into the game and we actually see it in action, which I'm sure some guys will have some good footage. Like I said, Mr. Squirrel Superhero Gamer, I'm sure they'll have good footage tonight, and they'll be able to show us what's going on and how it looks actually in game, and hopefully it looks as good as it sounds, because it's exciting. And you know, I can't wait to see some of the graphics too, him riding that hog and doing uppercuts and stuff like that. One thing, like I've said before, this game has never struggled with is the way it looks. It's always been a good looking game, and I hope they keep that up with Lobo, because he's got some exciting moves that looks like it'll be fun to watch. So alrighty guys, I'm out of here. I'm excited. I'll be pulling for him tonight. I'll probably post my video in the morning of my pulls and stuff like that, and see if we can get him. I don't even remember what my pity's at, but we'll figure that out tomorrow. All right, guys. Well, best of luck on Lobo. I hope to see those Discord pictures of 2 or 3 pulls and a 10 pull. That'd be awesome to see. And as always, I hope to see you in the next one. All right, everyone. Take care.